I am one of the first people in Australia to get my hands on this. This is Idemitsu engine oil. Today we are putting it in my Toyota Chaser JZX100. I've always loved using Japanese stuff on my Japanese cars, and engine oil is no exception. I'm the first one to use this because it hasn't launched in Australia until just now, so I had to grab some, see what it's like, and I'll let you know if it's worth buying it or not. My name's Pat, you're watching 2PJZ. Let's get cracking. So before we get started, one thing I wanted to be very honest about in the beginning is that these oils were sent to me by Idemitsu to review, and they sent me 4 different oils because they are new to Australia. They started in 1911. They've only ever really been an OEM brand. They've never ventured out into the consumer market, particularly here in Australia. So this is really cool to see. They've supplied OEM oils for Mazda, Toyota, Honda, and Nissan for many years now. So I wanted to break down the different types of oil before we put them in the car, just so you're aware of the differences. One thing that I really like about Idemitsu is that it's not just about driving or servicing a car and maintaining it, but it's about taking it to that next level of pure excitement and enjoyment, which is the whole reason that I like cars and the whole reason that I'm sure that you like cars as well. So the whole ethos of the brand really speaks to me. I have been wanting to try this for a long time. Way back in like 2020, I used to use the Idemitsu Rotary Premix, and that was the first introduction that I had to the brand. What this represents in terms of its research and development and all the nano-tailored technologies in the oil is just something that I'm really keen to see if I actually notice a difference compared to other oils, but it's just knowing that you have that peace of mind, there's an extra level of protection there. So I've only ever wanted to use the best stuff in my car, and obviously motor oil is the first thing that you have to look at besides putting good fuel in it, is that you are using the right oil in the car. So I'm probably going to use this one, which is a 5W40. Ordinarily I would use one of these, like the 5W30 here, because we are going into summer now and the 5W40 is a little bit thicker than the 5W30s here. But you might be wondering why there's 2 different types of 5W30s and why the boxes are all different colors. And because this is a first of its kind video, before we jump into actually chucking it in the car, I really wanted to show you the differences between all the 4 boxes of oil that I've got here. So this first one is a 5W40, and it says on the bottom of the box here, IFD3. And what IFD3 stands for is that it is diesel and gasoline. So you see the D compared to the IFG on this box basically means that this one is just for gasoline cars and this one is for diesel and petrol cars. So the IFG3 is your premium product. This is sort of your starting point for a stop and go traffic. It is obviously a nano-tailored as well. This is just not your standard oil that you'd find on the shelf at any of your car parts shops. This is proper stuff. Then stepping up from that, this is the IFG5. So that basically has something what's called Quintet Guard, and it's 5 extra layers of protection on top of the protection that you already get in the sort of entry-level premium products. This is an ultra premium one. This is more so suited for cars that you might put a bit more stress on the engine. Maybe some of you guys with Hondas who like to hit VTEC all the time, this is probably a really good shout for you. Then this one here, the black box, is a 0W20. That's with the Septet Guard. Septet means 7, so instead of 5 layers of protection like you have in this one, you've got 7 layers of protection. This is the ultimate sort of top of the line product here. I can't use this in my car sadly because it's the wrong viscosity. I would love to try a 5W40 in this one should they start to make it, but this is a really, really cool one. So you might be wondering why these are all in cardboard boxes, and this is an Australian market exclusive. You can only buy this online. You can't buy it in any stores yet. So if you wanted to give this a go after watching this video, I'll leave a link in the description box below that way you can purchase these and try it out for yourself. And the last thing I wanted to say before we actually jump into installing this in the car is that this is a Japanese brand. I've only ever wanted to use the most premium stuff in my Chaser and all of my cars, and when I can use a Japanese brand, a company that's been making oils for these cars for so long, I thought what better opportunity than to give this a go, be one of the first to try it out, as I mentioned. And I'm really keen to see if I notice a difference between other oils that I've used before, and just have the peace of mind that you're using something that has had years and years worth of R&D put into it. So enough blabbing from me. I hope you get a bit of an explanation about what these oils differ in compared to the oils that you might be familiar with that you can can buy at your car part shops, and we'll jump into chucking it in the car. These next steps might seem pretty obvious to some, but if you're new to this, you need to find a jack and 2 jack stands. The jacking positions on the Toyota Chaser are behind the front wheels as these 2 little circles on the front of the car. Don't use the factory pinch welds because you will end up crumbling the chassis into a piece of dust. These are very, very weak cars from this point to jack them with. You want to put your jack stands on the chassis support to make sure that it's nice and safe for when you're underneath the car. Then once you've finished jacking the car up, head over to the engine, pop it up, and then you're ready to go. All right, so now that we've jacked the car up, the next thing is to take off your oil cap. This will allow the air to pass right through the engine and make draining a whole lot quicker. And you also won't have to adjust your tub when you do take the oil cap off to get the last little bits out. So put it on top of the engine somewhere we won't lose it, and then we'll get into actually unboxing this product and seeing what it looks like. I find it very interesting that the oil comes in a cardboard box. It's really something I've never seen before, but super, super cool. So, wow. Nice packaging, hey? So you've got like this little sort of spark, and then, ooh, so that's 4 litres. So the bottles come in 4 litres, and you get an extra little 1 litre top up. So we'll take that out because the engine oil capacity of the 1JZ is, it depends where you read on the internet, but it's between 4.8 to 5.1 litres. This is a 4 litre bottle of the 5W40 that we'll be putting into the car. And then this will be what we use to top it up, the 1 litre bottle. Pretty cool. Let's get to draining. Underneath the car now, and my light just died, which is great. You've got on the driver's side, if you're in America, Japanese driver's side, the oil drain plug up here. So this is down the right-hand side of the car. That's the drain plug there. So we'll chuck our pan under it. This is a 14mm socket as well. The next step is to remove your drain bolt. As I mentioned before, this is a 14mm. You want to loosen it just a little bit so it's finger tight, and then do the rest of your hands to make sure you don't splash the oil everywhere. I've done this many times on several different cars, and I've sent oil all over the place, so it takes a real level of skill. But once you figure it out, it's quite a satisfying part of the job. I managed to do this part super successfully, which I was really happy with. So while waiting for it to drain, I may as well have a little look again and familiarize you with my Chaser. In the engine bay here, it is all 100% completely stock. I still haven't changed anything in the engine bay. The only thing I did do was like replace the air filter with like an $8 one in there, but I'd love to be able to get an intake on here and just put a nice pod there for some cool intake noises. I do want to get an aluminium radiator over time. This is just a stock one, but it's still in good nick. There's oil that we're using again here, so super keen to chuck that in. Then walking around the car, so I'm sort of getting a little bit sick now of the Grandpa Spec style on the car. Like, it's still got the stock wheels, stock suspension. It was cool at first. I really liked it at first because you never see a Chaser with all the stock bits, so I thought that part of it was cool, but just, it still looks good now, and it's cool to have it as a bit of a JDM relic, but it really needs a lip kit. Like, the front looks so naked without the lip kit on the front, and then coming down the side of the car, it just looks a bit ugh. So, need to tidy up this as well. There's just some paint peel on the mirrors. I really like this spoiler. I did just have the car detailed, but it's so dirty now that you can barely tell. But that's all right. It's all part of the fun. As soon as you clean it, it always rains every single time. So now the oil's drained, let's get back into it and then chuck some of the good stuff in. Once the draining has completed, you want to remove the jack stands from the car. To do this, just get your jack back under the car in the same spot that you put it up from. Pull your jack stands out, and don't forget to remove your drain tub from under the car. I've done this many times before where I've dropped the car on the drain tub. It is a very easy thing to forget, so I'm just making sure you remember that. So now comes time to actually pour the oil into the engine. I always like to use a funnel for this because I am clumsy as hell, so I try and make it as easy for myself as possible. When filling up the oil in the car, I've always found it much easier to turn the bottle on the side because this prevents glugging and having your oil spill over the top. The 1JZ has a very shallow entry point, so you need to make sure that you're very slow and careful with it to prevent any oil spilling up over the top of your funnel and down the side of the engine. All right, so all sounding pretty good so far. Now that's done, we'll let it warm up a little bit, and then we can check the oil, because you should always check your oil when the car's warm. And then we'll take it for a little lap around the block, see how everything is, and see if I notice an improvement. I have good peace of mind knowing that I've looked after the car, which is always the best thing in the world. Perfect. Nice. So we're out on a road test now, and everything feels really good. The car pulls pretty well. There's no weird noises coming from the engine, which is always nice. One thing you don't want, obviously, when you change your oil. And I really get the whole Idemitsu philosophy of driving excitement, because when you perform any form of maintenance to your car, you are excited to drive it, and you do want to take it out, and you do want to experience it. And I'm definitely feeling that with this, even though it's a really cold, awful day here in Melbourne. Changing the oil and knowing that this could come with some extra performance benefits is really exciting. Inside the car now isn't some cheap oil that was in here before. It's the real good stuff. It's had years of R&D put into it. It's just like a nice feeling to have. So I'm definitely really happy with it. The next step now is just to go back home and double check the levels now that it's actually at operating temperature, and I've driven around for about 10 minutes, but very happy with how it's turned out. It was very quick, very easy. Changing the oil on these older Japanese cars is super simple. So if you have one and you want to do it yourself, very, very easy. It does not take that long at all. And if you have done it millions of times before, then I hope you just enjoyed watching, and you might be considering buying some of this stuff. So even though the oil in this car was recently changed, it feels more lively, it feels happier. Back from the drive and everything went really well. Now the engine's actually properly warm. We'll just see how much is in here. Let's test it one more time. Let it hang out there for a little bit longer. Looking pretty good. Between the two lines is what we like to see. Now we're all done. So if you're one of the people who's been asking what's happened to the Chaser, where the Chaser's been, nothing's happened to it. It's just been sitting here being my daily driver, just like the good turbo Camry that it is. I'm really, really happy with this Idemitsu product. I love the premium nature of the brand. I love what the brand represents, and I will definitely be back to buy it in the future for my JZX100. So this is what I used, just in case you want to double check, so you can go and get some for yourself. You can get the higher spec ones if your car's has got a bit more power than mine does, or if you're tracking it or using it a bit more aggressively. The premium product as an entry-level product is still an amazing choice, and that's why I went with it for my car. The next thing that you'll probably see with the Chaser will be eventually the lip kit, but that will be coming in quite a while. It's a very, very expensive thing to do, and I just don't quite have the funds yet, sadly, to do the lip kit, but it's coming down the line. There is heaps more cool stuff coming to 2PJZ. Over the next few weeks, I will be in Japan, so there'll be so much Japanese car content coming. Going to Nismo Festival, I'll be touring all the spots in Japan that I've wanted to go to since I was a teenager, so I'm super, super excited for that. I absolutely can't wait. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe. Let me know what you think of my Toyota Chaser, or what you think of the Idemitsu oil. I really hope you've learned something today. That's the real key takeaway that I try and make with all my videos, is that you learn something. So if you want to buy some of the Idemitsu oil, the link will be in the description box below. And if you want to see more of me, I post daily on my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. You can find me at 2PJZ with an underscore on TikTok and Instagram. That's the best way to get in touch with me, to see more of this car and more of what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis. So if you're not there already, things are going pretty quick over there, so make sure you get in. And again, thank you for your support. My name's Pat. You've been watching 2PJZ. Never forget to stay driven, and we will see you next week.